Councillors, members of the public, if I could ask you to take your seats. Welcome along, everyone. Elected members and visitors, please remember to switch your electronic devices to silent this evening. And welcome everybody, those in the gallery. I'd also like to welcome our viewers at home who are watching the meeting via the live stream. To get us started, our Deputy Mayor is absent tonight, so I will ask you all to please be upstanding and I'll read the opening prayer. Almighty God, we ask you guide us in all our discussions to show goodness, honesty, understanding and wisdom in all that we undertake to do. May we respect each other's views at all times, and we ask all of this in your name. Amen. I'd now like to read the acknowledgement of country. It is a kind of a special one, I guess, tonight. Last night, Council had a briefing from one of the elders from our Aboriginal community, and that was because it was National Sorry Day, but we're also in the final stages of our Reconciliation Action Plan, the next stage of that coming back to Council. So Council's been going through some more learning and I guess having those in-depth conversations and asking the honest and the hard questions and having some pretty good robust discussions about it. And of course this morning here at the city and around the city of Stirling and other parts of the state and country, today marked the start of Reconciliation Week, which goes from the 27th of May, which marks the 1967 change in the Constitution. A very significant time, obviously, for Aboriginal people and indeed the rest of the population, going right through to the 3rd of June for that week and the 3rd of June marking Mabo Day. So I'd like to acknowledge our traditional owners of this land that we live on and pay my respects to elders past and present. And I'd like to thank the elders in our community who've been very generous with their time, I think, over the last particular period as we head into this wrap and sharing their knowledge with us. Thank you. You can be seated. The official opening of the meeting, I'd now like to declare the council meeting of the 27th of May 2025 open at 6:32 p.m. I do have two apologies tonight. I have one from the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Suzanne Migdal, and from Councillor Michael Dudek. 3 approved leave of absence. I have nil. 4 disclosures of interest. Audit meeting of 19th of May 2025. There were no disclosures from the Audit Committee meeting held on the 19th of May 2025. From the CRC meeting on the 20th of May 25, Councillor Rob Papard disclosed an impartial interest in item 12.1.8.1 as he a member of an organisation named within the report. And tonight, councillors, do you have any disclosures you'd like to put forward at this time? No indication at this stage. So I'll go into 5 petitions. Councillor Giudice, I believe you have a petition to table?
No, Mr Mayor, it's going to be Councillor Joe Ferranti, actually.
Sorry, Councillor Ferranti.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. The petition I have is for proposed modifications to Wordsworth Avenue and Alexander Drive intersection. The following petition contains 95 verified signatures, which has been received by the City. We, the undersigned, do respectfully request that the Council not proceed with modifications to Wordsworth Avenue and Alexander Drive intersection as proposed in the City's correspondence dated the 28th of April 2025 with the attached plan sent to electors in the locality. The reasons for our oppositions to the stated proposed road safety upgrade are as follows. We concur with the findings of the City's own reviews of intersection safety and crash patterns, which state of a review of historical crash data indicates that the crash frequency for the intersection has been progressively reducing over the last decade. The intersection ranks 44th of all unsignalised intersections across the city. Based on the relatively low frequency of the major crash types described above, there does not be a significant crash type or trend that requires further treatment in comparison to other intersections. I so moved.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any unverified petitions? If not, I'll have a mover for that petition, please. Councillor Rees, seconded Councillor Lagan. And just a show of hands to accept petitions this evening. That is unanimous. Thanks, councillors. Item 6 is responses to previous questions from the members. We have nil. And 7 is public question time. We'll get that started. And we'll go to the first person, and I'll invite you up for this evening's questions. Got a varied group of questions by the look of it tonight. Rosanna Sikatosu, I hope I pronounced that close, if you'd like to come forward. Thank you. And if you just You're welcome to pull that down so it's a little bit closer to you. And then on the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see a silver button. If you press that, the red light will go on just on the microphone part. That's it, and that can just stay on now. If you'd like to start, just your name and your suburb, and then your questions, please.
Okay, good evening everybody. My name is Rosanna Sicatosto and I live in, I have a block in Inglewood.
Thank you. And your question.
Okay, my first question, and this is all to do with the, God, I'm getting a lot of feedback here. Am I getting feedback?
I know, you're sounding fine up here.
Okay. It's relating to the proposed 969 to 971 Beaufort Street Inglewood development. My first question is, in the event that the restrictive covenant on 969, 971 Beaufort Street Inglewood for the over 55s demographic does not go through, what contingency plans does the city have in place to address concerns about the development becoming all ages, especially in terms of community integration and the safety and needs of older residents in the area?
Thank you for that question. I'll give you the short answer, probably none. But Ms Shears, I'll ask you to elaborate, please.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Thank you for the question, Ms Chicacosta. I think I got that correct. The city isn't the actual determining authority for that particular application, so we do have limited ability to influence that decision. We did put through the request that have a covenant on the property. However, as we aren't the final decision maker, we don't know if that will eventuate. The best the city can do is currently what we are doing is continuing to work with the Department of Communities and Western Australian Police, ensuring that we're doing everything we possibly can to ensure the future mix of that tenancy is suitable for the area. The assessment from the planning officers is purely around the residential use. It doesn't determine anything around over 55s or the social makeup of that building.
Okay, so probably my next two questions are going to be irrelevant then. My second question was, given Mr Carey's comments about the development potentially being outsourced, what steps can the City of Stirling take to ensure that the state government doesn't award this project to organisations like RUA, which takes on clients that other charities are often unwilling to engage with? Like, for instance, individuals facing severe mental health and substance abuse challenges, as we've seen in ongoing issues in areas like 9th Avenue apartments.
Thank you. And look, I can answer that one. In short, very little. I think the city's been strong in its advocacy for these things. In some ways, if it was outsourced to an organisation like RUA, at least it would have some sort of oversight and some of that wraparound service perhaps attached to it, which is one of our concerns. But we have very little ability, even through the referral stage, to provide that opinion. And even when conditions are put on development approvals, quite often through that sort of process, they can be removed by the decision making.
Okay, so my third question is, with the future of our community at stake, can you provide a clear timeline for when residents will be informed about the final decision regarding the demographic occupancy for this development? Additionally, what concrete steps will the City of Stirling take to ensure that communication remains open, transparent and accountable throughout the whole entire process?
Thank you for that. I'll get Ms Shears to give you some of the details on that.
Through you, Mr Mayor, the determining authority, we understand, are looking to finalise their report in early June, with the decision then being taken to the relevant decision maker, which is what we call the SPC. They will make that decision. In terms of when that might be, we're unsure. When submitters did put through a submission on the application, unless they ticked a particular box on the form, they will be notified of when that report is available and included on the agenda. But unfortunately, if they didn't, they won't receive that notification. The city certainly will try and advocate and put that information out to concerned residents as soon as we have been made aware of what that date will be. But as I say, it's sort of out of our hands in terms of when that meeting will occur.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your questions. Lynn Nowak.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My goodness me, it's almost June. 1 week away, it's June. This makes this Tuesday the last Tuesday of May. Exciting.
That's the school teacher in you, isn't it, Miss? No.
On the 4th of March, I actually asked questions of this council regarding road safety and parking around Karrinyup Shopping Centre. Each of my questions was answered with, "This will be addressed in the traffic report to be released in May." Good on you. I think it's being presented tonight. I acknowledge the people who actually have worked tirelessly on this. Thank you very much, because it is definitely needed. I think most people will acknowledge that Davenport Street is in desperate need of calming. This is the street with the most elderly people, along with young preschool children. I hope recommendations will be addressing their needy issues. However, I live on Burrows. I hope the needs of my street are also addressed and acknowledged. There is a very active church on this street with bus stops outside on both sides of Burrows Road. There are many elderly people that attend this church daily. There are invalid people that attend this church at least 3 times a week. There are migrants that attend this church every Tuesday morning for ESL lessons. That's English as a second language for those of you who are not aware of educational words. I have said many times in these meetings, this church has a strong need. So I reiterate again, this church needs a crosswalk outside, which would facilitate the people who are alighting the bus stops, 2 of them, and going into the church. Will this need be addressed in the recommendations along with the Davenport and Francis Street needs?
Thank you. Mr. Guillemot.
Thank you for the question. Through you, Mr. Mayor, the infrastructure improvements on Burrows Road have been considered as part of the Karrinyup West Village development. Those improvements have been imposed as a condition of development and will include a pedestrian refuge island at a mid-block location along Burrows Road to allow pedestrians to cross the road in 2 stages. And the island will also assist in moderating vehicle speeds along Burrows.
Okay, well, on March the 4th, I also asked at this meeting what parking arrangements are going to be made for the upcoming building for the high-rise on Burrows Road. But I'm not so sure it's actually going ahead just at the moment, given that there doesn't seem to be an allocated builder who will undertake the building of this development. So I would like to know, is the parking addressed in this report, or are we going to wait many years before they finally do get to build these buildings?
I don't believe it is. Mr. Guillemot. Ms. Shears.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's correct, Ms. Nowak. The construction management plan, which is a requirement of that approval, is yet to be submitted to the city. They have submitted a sort of a preliminary building application at this stage, which is just sort of preliminary site works at the moment. They are yet to put through their, I guess, more substantive building permit application for the construction of the towers. As for timing as to when that may occur, we haven't been privy, but that final building permit does need to include that construction management plan, which will deal with the parking for the site.
Thank you. Question 3. Yes or no would be fine. I must say plans for improvement are not likely to be affected when they are retrofitted. Any engineer will tell you that. The traffic problems have been ignored by the developers since the inception of the Karrinyup Shopping Centre redevelopment plan was shown to the public. Is it time for this council to consider and enter discussions with the owners of the Karrinyup Shopping Centre for an alternative parking plan, such as a designated parking building off-site on Karrinyup Road, with ease of entry and exit for both cars and pedestrians?
Can you just elaborate? What do you mean on Karrinyup Road off-site?
Not on the Karrinyup shopping centre site.
So I can give you a simple one. Yes, we're happy to have it. I'd love to take this offline and hear the site you have in mind.
Can I just make one comment though? I'll
yeah.
go back to question 2. I actually find it insulting to my intelligence to have that answer when I could have had that answer. Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, not sure. Okay. Eddie Larassi. Thank you. Just your name and suburb and then your question.
My name's Eddie Arachi and I'm in Inglewood. My question is about the laneways. So there's still, the private laneways are still not being completed. Is there a completed date for all these laneways?
So it would depend on what the laneway category is. All laneways have a category listing, whether they're a priority due to the developments occurring on them. The ones that are currently listed as the right category, so a category 1 or 2 laneway, for example, would already be perhaps either in progress or on the listings for the next couple of years. And then they go down to a category where they may be done or will be done in a future state. If you give us the laneway name, we can probably take it offline. I don't know if you have before.
Yeah, I'm talking the laneway between 7th and 8th Avenue, which is the one directly behind Woolworths, which is a commonly used laneway. I thought that would have been one of the first ones that would have got done, but, you know, we're down the track now and it still hasn't been done. And it's a commonly used laneway too.
So, yeah, and again, thank you for that. We can certainly take it off that one offline and provide you the response and the timeframes if it is, or the reasons why it hasn't. But it would normally require the developments that are being approved along there, but also recognising the fact that laneways across the city, there are dozens and dozens and dozens of them, and the Forward Works program can only do so much per year.
Okay, that probably leads me to my next question is for the lighting of them. So, I mean, everyone knows what's been going on 9th Avenue there, which I'm only like a stone throw away from there. So if they were lit up quite nicely, then it stops these undesirables hiding in these laneways, which is what they're doing, waiting for early hours of the morning before they start breaking into vehicles and all that, which is what we're experiencing out there, eh?
No, thank you for that. And look, don't disagree with you. The lighting that generally goes along with laneways is part of that Forward Works program. It normally forms part of the development contributions of the people who develop onto that laneway as well. In this instance, would it be beneficial to have more lighting? Yes, it would, but we can look at that even aside from the laneway, whether it needs more lighting in that area.
Okay, and then just one more is the security. I know there's been talks about more security in the Inglewood area, but is that going to continue? Because we can't leave our cars out on the road. They just get broken into constantly.
Yes, yeah, understand that issue. I'll get Mr. Quirk to provide an update of where that's at. We certainly have a role to play in community safety, but I guess it's important to note that this is a police matter. Most of the criminal activity there isn't the remit of our community safety team, but we're certainly providing those ears and eyes on the ground as quickly as possible, and the team have been out there very frequently. I'll get Mr. Quirk to provide some details of that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, I can confirm that the city's community patrols will be continuing for the foreseeable future. We work closely in partnership with WA Police, who we know are also undertaking regular patrols. It is important, obviously, where there is criminal behaviour, and obviously breaking into vehicles is criminal behaviour, even if it's after the fact, to report that to WA Police. Both the police and the City of Stirling work on statistics to inform their patrol patterns. So the more reports is the best way to make sure that patrols continue.
Okay,
Thank you for your questions. Louise Cartledge, and as you come up, I'll just rule to, we've just gone past 15 minutes, I believe, so I'll just rule to extend question time to allow further questioning. If you'd like to come forward and just your name and suburb.
Yes, Louise Cartledge, Inglewood. First off, I would like to thank the City of Stirling for all the efforts that they've made towards solving some of these problems in Inglewood. Just to inform the meeting that my son was the young man that was attacked on the 10th of May. My question is, how many state housing properties are in the ward of Inglewood?
Thank you for that. I don't have that. I don't know if we would have that information. Who would know? We'd have to get back to you. on that in writing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure one of our teams will be able to work that out and get back to you. Melissa Molinari.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, councillors. Just bear with me for 1 second. Sorry, I just need to go into here. Can I come back?
We can swap you out. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
that's right. Tag team. Maria Rosic, if you'd like to come up.
I don't have a preamble today, so my questions are quite short. So, Mr. Mayor, my first question tonight is regarding the abandoned niche living construction site located on Beaufort Street between Normanby Road and Crawford Road in Inglewood. So, my question is it owned by the government?
Ms Shears.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to our understanding, no, it's not.
Okay. Then my second question can disappear. All right. And my final question, Mr. Mayor, is related to what Louise has asked about the social housing properties in Inglewood. So I'll ask it and then I'll ask the second bit. So is the council able to provide me with the list of all the property owned by the government in Inglewood and Mount Lawley? And if not, is the council able to direct me to where I could obtain this information, please?
Yes, I'm sure we can give you some information, and the information we can't give you, we can
Yes.
direct you to the right agencies to find out.
Fabulous. Thank you.
How are you going, Melissa? Good?
I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So
Just,
good
so just your
evening.
name and suburb to start then.
Melissa Molinari, Inglewood. I have 3 questions this evening in regards to the crime issues happening in Inglewood. My first question is, actually before I do that, I just wanted to say, Mr. Mayor, I was doing a radio interview last week and a gentleman rang in and was very critical of yourself and the Stirling Council in regards to you not being helpful in regards to this situation. I just want to let you know that I don't agree with that, and that is not the voice of those of Inglewood. Yeah. I'm not sure if you had heard that.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome. My first question is, last week the CEO of Stirling Council met with the Director General of Department of Housing. Can the Mayor detail the outcomes agreed upon in that meeting, and would the Mayor be willing to forward the minutes taken from that meeting?
No. So there's the 2 simple answers. No, it was a meeting between the CEO and the DG. No, we wouldn't be able to forward any minutes. I don't even know if any were taken. But what I can do is certainly get Mr. Quirk. I know he's been provided with several updates, and I know it's escalated fairly rapidly. A lot of that is due to the pressure that's been put on by the community, and I think the awareness in this area. So it's a credit to you and the rest of the community who stood up. But I'll get Mr. Quirk to provide probably the detail that he is allowed to provide.
Sure.
If that's okay.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, certainly through the advocacy of both community and the city, and a direct outcome of the conversations between our CEO and the DG. There is now weekly operational meetings between the Department of Communities, WA Police, and myself on behalf of the city with our Manager of Community Safety. That in itself is encouraging. We were actually with them this afternoon, and so there is certainly a lot of focus from the department and WA Police on this matter at the moment, and we're encouraged that there is a lot of action, albeit finally taking place. So we can't give any specific details at this stage, but I hope that does give you some encouragement.
We'll get Mr. Rodich just to clarify what he can say.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Ms. Molinari, for the question. Hope you can appreciate that. Largely the conversation was confidential. It was between myself and the Director General and one of his regional directors. There was no one taking minutes. It was a meeting between us 3. One thing I can say that I strongly voiced the concerns of the residents and all the matters that you and the residents have brought up through council. It was quite clear the city's position on that. I'm waiting for a letter of response to my letter a few weeks ago. Depending on the content of that letter, hopefully I can share some more information with everyone.
That would be much appreciated. Thank you. My third question this evening is, can the Mayor provide me with the details and locations of drug-related clinics that reside in the Inglewood and Maylands ward or surrounding areas, and a list of registered pharmacies in the same area that authorise and provide types of methadone programs and medication to patients?
Thank you for that question. We'll do our best. We'll provide the response in writing, obviously, but we'll find the information that we can find, and if not, we can refer you to where you can find that.
Thank you. And my final question for this evening is, on Friday the 23rd of May, 2 new video security towers were erected and placed in the rear car park of 157 9th Avenue, Inglewood. This now makes a total of 3 security towers monitoring this property. As there are no CCTV cameras installed on the property due to the privacy of tenants that live there, even after 3 stabbings, 1 attempted murder, numerous bashings, knife attacks, and drug and alcohol-related violence, I could go on, but we don't have time. Could you please tell me, Mr. Mayor, who is footing the bill for these towers? Is it the hard-working, rate-paying citizens of the City of Stirling, or is it the state government, the ones who have created this hellhole for us, the ones that did not bother to consult yourself, the community, or even the police before doing so, and have avoided all questions being asked to them in relation to this matter?
Thank you. And look, it is a mix. The 2 new ones are by the department, but ultimately the irony is you are one of the people paying for all that infrastructure being put in to protect yourself.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Paris Fitzpatrick, I think you're here on the same item. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. So.
Paris Fitzpatrick in Inglewood. You may be aware of the community petition to the SDAU and the SPC, now with over 1,100 verified signatures, supporting this council's recommendation for a restrictive covenant at the 969 Beaufort Street development should the SPC approve the application. Yesterday, I received a letter of support from the Housing for the Aged Action Group, a nationally recognised advocacy organisation explicitly endorsing both the petition and the Council's conditional requirement for the restrictive covenant. In light of this endorsement and the CEO's meeting with the Director General of Department of Communities, can Council please confirm whether this meeting addressed concerns about this commitment to seniors, and did this conversation result in any concrete, legally enforceable commitments by the Department of Communities to ensure the Beaufort Street development will be exclusively for seniors as promised?
Thank you. Ms. Shears. Sorry. Mr. Rodich. Fitzpatrick.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, and thanks, Ms. Fitzpatrick, for the question. My discussion with the Director General was not about the Beaufort Street property, it was absolutely specifically about 9th Avenue.
Thank you. All right. After another recent 9th Avenue assault victim confided in me about their trauma, leaving them so isolated and unsupported that it led to a suicide attempt, it is clear our community urgently needs better mental health resources. As someone trained in mental health first aid through Mental Health First Aid Australia, I've seen firsthand how this training equips people to recognise crises and provide life-saving support before situations escalate. This practical step would empower residents to help each other in moments of crisis. So, would Council commit to sponsoring mental health first aid courses for volunteer community members?
Yeah, we can certainly look at it. I think we can take that one offline. I'll get Mr. Quirk to provide a quick response to you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, look, we do partner with a number of mental health organisations, so it's certainly something we're happy to talk to the community more about and see if we can make that happen.
Thank you. Furthest to this, the Council already provides targeted resources for seniors and domestic violence survivors on their website. Will Council please extend this same lifeline by creating a dedicated webpage listing crisis contacts, counselling services and trauma resources for all residents in need?
Yes, I think we already do most of that, some through our Care Finder and our services, community services.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Brett Russell. Right, and just your name and suburb, then your
Brett
question.
Russell. Excuse me, Brett Russell, Trigg. Mr. Mayor, what are the top 5 objectives of the proposed coastal boardwalk between Trigg and Scarborough?
Thank you for that question. I'll provide you that response in writing.
Last meeting on the 13th of May 25, you stated that the city is considering all options for a walkway between Trigg to Scarborough, including widening the existing path or creating a separate path next to the current path. Will the ratepayers be given a choice of these 2 options as part of the planned community engagement process so that they can make up their own mind? And if not, why not?
Thank you for that. Currently, widening the footpath isn't one of the options that will be consulted with the community, but it will be form part of the assessments that will be publicised to the community.
So just to clarify, that there's no designs being done for the pathway so
There's-
far?
No, there are not designs being done to widen the pathway.
Okay. When you consider the context of the City of Stirling as a whole, that is 240,000 ratepayers, and the likelihood that the existing shared path could be widened for a fraction of the cost, please rationalise to the ratepayers and other elected members that are requiring urgent money in their wards how the additional spend required to build a boardwalk through the dunes could possibly be justified.
Thank you. And that will form part of the assessments and the studies that is then consulted with the community. And ultimately, the community will decide if this city or either progresses with the proposed boardwalk or funds it or seeks funding for that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mike Masiello. Thank you. And just your name and suburb.
It's Mike Masiello from Trigg. Item 12.2 on tonight's agenda is regarding erosion management of meadows and watermans, 2 sandy beaches collectively only a couple of 100 metres long. Previous councils and or governments have developed infrastructure too close to a coastline that is now exposed to extreme coastal erosion. CSIRO has confirmed Australia is highly exposed to erosion due to sea level rise of 0.6 to 1.1 metres and more frequent extreme sea level events. This item references both CHARMAP and State Planning Policy 2.6, both of which advise avoidance is a recommended strategy for new development within the 100-year erosion hazard zone. You're well aware South Trigg Beach, Zone MU5, is considered high to extreme erosion risk over the next 20 to 70 years, yet rather than investing in preserving and building the protective vegetative buffer, the city is pouring hundreds of thousands of dollars into a ludicrous concept of building a multi-million-dollar structure within this zone. The initial cost of sand nourishment for these 2 small beaches, which you'll hear later tonight, combined is $4 million. However, this is only considered a short-term solution given the fact the erosion erodes unstabilised sand quite rapidly. As part of the feasibility assessment, has the city itemised and evaluated the cost to protect or relocate this proposed significant structure from erosion or flooding, given it could span 1 kilometre of sandy coast within a known high erosion risk? If not, why not?
Thank you for that, and that will form part of the assessments.
Yep. So you will be conducting a...
The structure will be assessed in line with all of those planning policies and CHARMAP and environmental protection.
So you'll
and all of those,
evaluate
and the,
the cost to protect or relocate it in the costings. Is that what you'll perform that?
I just answered, only you were talking over me, Mr. Mayor.
No problems. Looking forward to that one in writing. Okay. The city commissioned an external consultant, MP Rogers and Associates, to complete an independent multi-criteria analysis of proposed options to address the erosion issue at Watermans and Meadows. The process engaged a community reference group. As stated in the executive's summary, a multi-criteria analysis was developed to evaluate the potential adaptation options based on a range of relevant technical, social, environmental and economic criteria. This process is useful for assessing multiple, often conflicting, decision-making criteria and identifying a preferred option with the highest score. It seems logical that an independent multi-criteria assessment and community reference group should be used to identify and evaluate potential options for an upgrade to the walking path between South Trigg and North Scarborough. Will the city be engaging a community reference group identifying options using an independent multi-criteria assessment prior to the community engagement? And if not, why not?
No, it will not. The multi-criteria assessment was used for the Medams. It's a very different situation. In this particular case, the city wasn't looking to improve the path. The council itself elected to look at a proposed boardwalk. So the solution was clear in terms of that is a project. Following on with the assessments, etc., there will be stages where they'll do assessments on different options for that boardwalk if it proceeds.
It seems the city is being selective when choosing to or not to follow the guidance of CHAMUP and State Planning Policy 2.6. Through our questioning, the responses provided by the city in the minutes have obfuscated definitions and sidestepped the guidance of these policies when that guidance has not supported the boardwalk viability. I'm still unsure if this is selective ignorance or negligence. Will the city be able to obtain insurance for a coastal boardwalk through the dunes? And if not, who will be responsible or liable for the cost of protecting and or removing a coastal boardwalk if the forecasts are wrong and the predicted erosion situation transpires at a faster rate than is currently forecast?
Thank you for that, and that'll all form part of the assessment, Mr. Masiello, and it will form the risks associated with building if it is proposed that it goes ahead.
So you're going to determine whether you can obtain insurance as part of the feasibility assessment?
I think it would be premature. The council hasn't even decided if there is a boardwalk getting built yet.
So you wouldn't make any preliminary inquiries whether it's insurable before you...
I've just answered, Mr. Masiello. I'm happy to provide you the detailed response in writing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Margaret Bond.
Mr Mayor, councillors.
And just your name and suburb for the record.
Yes, my name's Margaret Bond from Scarborough. When councillors voted to approve the corporate business plan 25/28 FY on the 25th of June 2024, I've noticed that the Coastal Boardwalk feasibility studies was one of 34 projects listed on this corporate business plan. Reviewing the replay of the live stream of this meeting, the Mayor's discussion on the allocation of $500,000 for the Boardwalk feasibility study lasted all of 6 seconds. My question, can the Mayor please confirm if all councillors were provided with adequate information and unanimously and specifically agreed that $500,000 allocated in the corporate business plan for the Coastal Boardwalk feasibility study would be used exclusively for external contractors and that city officers' time would not be included in the feasibility study allocation?
Thank you. Look, the simple answer is yes. All councillors are provided with enough information to perform their duties. They go through a strict budget process and then they endorse the budget for the City of Stirling. The corporate business plan is obviously an administrative document that council endorses, but basically it's a way for the administration to enact the strategic community plan, which is endorsed by the council following community consultation.
Thank you. My second question. City officers are allocating significant time towards the Boardwalk feasibility study. When I asked at the last meeting on the 13th of May 25 about the city sending through a time and cost estimate for the city officer time spent on the Coastal Boardwalk project, the Mayor stated, and I quote, "Sure, we will do this. Each project that the city does or services is allocated to the cost centres through the staff." However, when the meeting minutes were released, the response given was individual administration staff costs have not been allocated to the project and are captured within the city's overall employee costs. This contradicts, Mr Mayor, your reply to me on video and previous advice given to ratepayers that the $500,000 included city officer time. My question, why are city staff costs not able to be allocated to this project?
The reality is it's their job to do it. And as you would see from even these council meetings and the amount of requests that come through with community interest, there's a lot of stuff that just happens business as usual. You know, another example tonight is a public housing in Inglewood. It's not a budget item. It's not in our corporate business plan. There would probably be a lot more resources in terms of staff time spent on that than there is the boardwalk in recent times. But it's not budgeted or necessarily isolated. Staff are employed by the City of Stirling, by the CEO, and they're here to serve the community.
Thank you for your answer. My third question, $4,500 ex GST was paid to Y Architecture Studio for artistic impressions of the proposed coastal boardwalk. This firm comprises of 2 staff who are both interior designers, who work in office fit-outs, gyms and residential interior design. They have 0 landscape architecture experience. This is probably why the artist impression of the city website is so unrealistic and does not reflect the topography, vegetation and/or unachievable view given the high frontal dune. I'm confident the majority of councillors or admin staff have not walked through these dunes, as they have not opposed the unrealistic artist impression. When the claimed tourists arrive, the barren dunes covered by a sea of plastic tubes filled with dying plants will make the city a laughingstock of the world. My question, why did the city waste $4,500 on an interior designer and not a landscape architect?
Thank you. I don't have that answer. We'll respond to you in writing.
Lovely, thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Robert Madden. Thank you. Your name and
Robert Madden, NLU. Good evening, Mayor, councillors, members of the gallery. I thank Peter Mullins for his response to a sizable list of questions.
Sorry to interrupt. Can I just get you to move that way, just in front of the mic? Yeah, just say, yeah, that's right.
I just want to say thank you to Mr Mullins for a sizable response with regard to the cat law on the agenda later this evening. My first question's just for a little bit of additional clarification on that law before it is moved to discussion this evening. So the city's new law has a provision for full cat containment within protected zones and their buffers under clause 3.91b. That clause states that a premises must be adequately fenced. That adequate fencing then is determined on if there is more than one escape of a cat from the premise. But the clause then goes on to say if a cat has escaped more than once, the city may require containment. Forgive me, but I'm a little bit confused by that language as it seems conflicted. And I'd ask, why isn't the city proposing just to make the language less ambiguous in the first instance and state cats must be contained rather than may? And also, why isn't an instant assessment / penalty applied on a single escape?
Thank you for that question. Mr Mullins.
Through you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Mr Madden, for that question. The city is trying to balance the requirements for this community around cat management and what we understand are the legislative issues around cat containment. So the inclusion of adequate fencing is not, in our opinion, not full containment of a cat. The ability to issue a permit gives us the operator of may as opposed to shall, so it is something that we can do on a case-by-case basis. So the intention being if a cat does enter into a cat-protected area, the city may choose to issue a permit to contain that cat onto that property. It should be, I guess, noted at the sense that we are amended an existing local law that has fauna protection buffer zones, has the ability for us to issue permits in those zones. It's untested as to whether we'll be able to continue with this. It's the fauna protection buffer zones are something unique to the City of Stirling since our cat local law was introduced in 98 or 99, I think it was. So it is still subject to the Joint Standing Committee on Delegated Legislation making a determination as to whether we can or cannot implement that.
Thank you. Mr Madden?
Thank you. My second question is the city should be aware that the West Australian Feral Cat Working Group are hosting a workshop on Thursday, the 12th of June. They've invited Eastern State local governments that are sharing their positive and often easy experiences with pathways to and enforcement of full cat containment. And I'm just wondering, are the city officers going to be attending that workshop and will they be advising councillors to attend in kind?
Thank you for that question. Mr Mullins?
Through you, Mayor Owen, I certainly will be attending as a city officer. I'm very keen to hear that presentation and see it. And I've provided that information to all elected members of this council to consider whether they wish to attend or not.
Excellent. And my last question just speaks to that notion of the JSCDL. It's very positive that the City have previously written to the former Minister for Local Government regarding changes to the State's CAT Act. It's also particularly positive that the City is continuing to engage with the DLGSC, inquiring on their progress to review the CAT Act. The concern there is those engagements are not in the public eye. They're happening behind closed doors that we don't necessarily see. So I wonder, as kind of a sign of good faith to the community, in the face of a new Minister for Local Government in Hannah Beasley, a change to the JSCDL now, new legal advice being given to the JSCDL, if the City would be open to the notion of writing a new letter, perhaps an open letter, that the other 30-some LGAs also kind of raising their pitchforks and torches to argue for change, and whether the City would be willing to lead that and write a public letter that is open for other councils to sign on to.
Thank you for that. Look, Mr Mullins, I'll get some advice from Mr Mullins. I think we're writing to the Minister anyway to inform, obviously, depending on the agenda item this evening. So we might be able to add something in, Mr Mullins.
Through you, Mayor Owen, thanks, Mr Madden. We are engaging with the department as officers, and that's our role as city officers to engage with the department. Our last communication with them was 10th April 2025. I did just notice a typo in my report, which I apologise for. It should have read 2025. And they have said that they're on schedule to have the review done 2025. I'm aware of our conversation last week after the meeting where you mentioned around the Joint Standing Committee change. That's something that I'm not necessarily privy to at this moment, and the legal advice that potentially they may have. So we are talking a little bit hypothetical. I understand the Mayor likes writing letters, which we write on his behalf. So if Mr Mayor was open to a letter, we'd be happy to write a letter to the Minister of the Local Government.
So that was a yes. Just to check. Yeah, it's quite a long way to get to. Thank you very much.
We can add it in.
Perfect.
Roland Hadley.
Good evening, Roland Hadley, Woodlands. The Ewan Street Community Group seek details of public money spent engaging consultants since 2021. Can you please supply the name of the consultant and the company? For what purpose was the consultant engaged and the monetary value involved? Thank you.
Thank you for that. We can respond to you in writing, Mr Hadley.
Thank you.
Is there any particular or just in general?
In general.
Just in general.
Entirety, thank you. Members of the Ewan Street Community Group ask why Mayor Irwin and former CEO Stuart Jardine did not liaise with both the federal and state governments to seek funding for this failed $1 billion trackless tram project. Surely this should have been their first priority. Why did this not happen?
Because there was nothing to fund, Mr Hadley.
Nothing to fund, thank you. It appears that the city is now repeating this failure, particularly when the cost of constructing a 1 kilometre boardwalk will cost millions. Furthermore, has Mayor Mark Irwin sought approval from the federal, state governments and state agencies to even construct a boardwalk in an A-class reserve? Or is the city just simply overriding the rules and regulations that apply to A-class reserves in this country?
And thank you for that question. There's no relationship I can see between a boardwalk and a trackless tram. The city isn't overriding any authorities. The city hasn't decided if it's progressing with the boardwalk. They'll do initial designs and environmental considerations, then they'll seek community consultation on whether to proceed, and then they'll go through a significant approval process, which is legislated, and then we'll work out the funding model, whether we advocate to the state or federal government for funding if it decides to proceed with it. So it will go through a normal process and it'll be very public.
Obviously, it would cost millions, so therefore expecting the city or the ratepayers to pay for this substantial cost?
Well, that would be up to council to decide, but I would think that this would definitely be something that we would be seeking federal or state funding for.
Thank you.
Thank you. Damien Kelly. Thank you. And just your name and suburb.
Damien Kelly, Scarborough. My question is in relation to the Carrinup Shopping Centre traffic review. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate councillors, the Mayor and the staff on undertaking the review, and in particular Councillor Krasicevic, because it's badly needed. So thank you. Now, one of the things I've been in attending sort of community meetings, and one of those held in a forum in February, one of the things that came out of that is that there's a sort of a need for a more robust, holistic infrastructure plan for the whole Carrinup precinct area, rather than sort of bits and pieces to incrementally improve the situation for residents. Are there any plans afoot that you're aware of by the city or the state to undertake such a plan or infrastructure review?
Simple answer is no.
Okay.
Look, and the city's been clear on this from the start. The city recommended that development didn't go ahead, and it wasn't because it's, the city doesn't want to see a fantastic shopping centre, and it is a fantastic shopping centre, or future development. It's because the planning framework didn't support it, and future planning normally takes on board all of those considerations, the road networks, the transport, all of those things. And what we've seen is a failure of all of that in that precinct because it can't keep up with the increase in people going to and from the shopping centre.
Thanks. I'm sure local residents would agree entirely. In that sense, and you're not aware of anything from the state government, just to be clear, that planning to do anything to sort of make up and retrofit any sort of planning schemes or anything like to
I think part of the recommendation tonight from the councillor is to write a letter to the local member of the state government again, reiterating concerns around that Carrinup Road intersection.
Okay, thanks. I guess in that sense, what assistance, if any, did we or the city receive from the state government or local member in that regard for this review?
I'm not sure if we actually sought any. I think this was a report done by the officers. I'll get Mr. Guillemot to comment.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, we didn't specifically seek any assistance from the state member. This was intended to be an internal review of the traffic and road safety issues around the shopping centre.
Okay. Thank you. One last question then. So have there been, you mentioned there's sort of requests that have been made. Can you elaborate on what requests have been made so far? Because it's just keen to make sure there's some sort of state government horsepower to make sure that this problem can be solved once and for all.
Sure, and we'll get we can probably respond to you in writing with that, so you have it clear. But there's certainly been a lot of work going to and from with officers and main roads to seek their feedback and input into it.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I have on my list, unless I've missed anyone. Have I missed anyone? If not, thank you all for your patience. We'll now go on to item 8, which is applications for leave of absence. Councillors Migdale, Ferrante and Lagan have requested a leave of absence as noted in tonight's agenda and shown on the screen behind me. So that is there. Can I have a mover and a seconder for those leave of absence? Move Councillor Kristevich, seconder Councillor Olo, and just a show of hands to approve those leave of absences. That is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Confirmation of minutes. Can I have a mover and a second for the ordinary meeting of council held on the 13th of May? Move Councillor Giudice, second Councillor Hatton, and a show of hands for those. That is unanimous. Thanks, councillors. Announcements by the presiding member. I have nil. Item 11, unresolved business. I have nil. That takes us to 12. So we'll go to those committee reports. The first lot we'll start with is the audit items. None of them are required to be pulled out. Are there any that you wish to pull out? Yes, Councillor Ree.
I want to pull out 12.19.1, please. It doesn't have to go behind confidential doors, but I do want to pull it out. Just voting on it separately.
So you don't want to talk to it at all? You just want to vote on it?
Oh, I can ask one question on it, but I will vote against it.
So what I'll do is 12.1, 9.1, we'll pull that out and I'll leave that till the end of the meeting and probably go behind closed doors if you want to ask about anything to do with that. If there's no other items, I will go to you, Councillor Lagan, as Chair of the Audit Committee.
Yeah, thank
move
you,
those.
Mr Mayor. Just a question. I have an alt rec for 12.1 CG2. Will we deal with that? Do you want to deal with that now or later in the meeting as it's confidential?
Confidential or later?
Well, again, yeah, is it a significant change that's going to require
It
debate?
was an addition of dates.
All right, let's have a... Yeah, so why don't we deal with 12.1 CG2 then to start with, and then we can do the others on block.
Is that CG1 or 2?
It's
CD2.
Oh, 2.
Yeah, but it's not talking about the actual, this is just changing with dates in
It's
the
just addition of dates
recommendation.
for when the reports are brought to committee and council.
So can I have a seconder for, sorry, can we just get that moved out the way? Yep. Can I have a seconder for this motion from Councillor Lagan? So he's just adding in the dates of when it comes back, Councillor Judici. So it's no change to the actual committee recommendation, except those dates. Is anyone opposed to that change with dates? If not, if we can go to the electronic vote on that one. Thank you, and that is unanimous. I'll now go to you, Councillor Lagan, as Chair of the Committee, to move 12.1 A1, A2 and 12.1 CG1.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. And just before I move, just a quick comment on the Fleet Management Audit Report. Can I thank officers for the amount of information that has been sent to myself and some other elected members during the week. It has helped with the full understanding of the activities in that area, and I'll move the balance of the report minus those two items.
Great. You can. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Kristovich. If we can go to the vote on that, councillors. Thank you, and that is unanimous. So, members of the gallery and those watching at home, please note that the Audit Committee recommendations have been adopted by exception resolution without 12.19.1. It's a confidential matter. As it's been pulled out, we'll deal with that at the end of the meeting behind closed doors. We'll now go on to Community and Resource Committee items. Councillors, are there any of those that you wish to pull out this evening? Councillor Thornton?
Yes, I'd like to pull out 12.1 GOV 1.
12.
Oh, 12.2, sorry.
Okay.
GOV 1.
The cat law. Thank you. Councillor Lagan, you have one?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to pull out 12.2 ES1. I've just got a question, so I don't really think it needs a lot of debate.
12.2 ES1. Karen up. Yep. Lagan. Councillor Ree?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to pull out 12.2 F1, 12.2 F3. I want a question on 12.2 2E2, which I believe that just a question on that, which should be fine. And 12.2 GOV2, please.
Sorry, what was the one you said that you just want to have a question on?
12.2 TE2, please. Just on the plants.
Thank you. Okay. Councillors, are there any others you wish to pull out? All right, let's start with 12.2 ES1, as that's been pulled out by Councillor Lagan. Councillor Perkov, as the Chair of the Committee, have you got a recommendation?
And I thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, 12.2 ES1 on page 44. I move the committee recommendation from that evening. Thank you.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Kristovich has seconded. Councillor Lagan, do you just have a question or are you opposed?
Yeah, my question is just point one of the committee's recommendation. Is the reading, I'm just trying to confirm for myself, is the reading still that be listed for consideration on the draft 26-27 annual budget? Is that still the wording we're using?
be listed.
Number one. Yeah.
I'm not sure what you're asking. It's if it reads that.
Yeah. I'm just trying to confirm. That's all.
Well, confirming the obvious.
Yes, that's what it said.
Yes.
Thank you. That's all I need to confirm.
You can't bind future council, that's all he's saying.
Okay. I'm not really following. Thanks for reading that line to us, Councillor Logan. All right, so there's no one opposed, so I'll put that one to the vote. That is unanimous. 12.2 F1's been pulled out by Councillor Reid. Councillor Perkoff is chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mayor. Third item, 12.2F1. I move the committee recommendation. I beg your pardon, sorry. On page 79.
Thank you. Councillor Reid, do you want to second it with a question or are you opposed? No. Can someone second the motion, please? If you'd like to. Councillor Kristovich will second. Councillor Reid, are you opposed?
Question, well, no, not totally opposed. My question is, could you tell me where in these accounts is it listed for the money we get from trading in vehicles, etc.? What is that category? Is that a category somewhere?
Thanks,
Did
Ms
I miss
Hawkins.
it? My apologies if I missed it.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thanks, Councillor Reid. That would come through from, for example, the Meinheim invoices, which is the auction houses, and there would be an amount that was the trade-in, and then the vehicle disposal amount would be within that.
Councillor?
Through you. So it's listed as an auction house in the accounts, is it? I don't think I've ever seen that. I must have missed that. Could I get something in our bags later about that, please?
Yeah.
And just that how much it's been the last couple of months, thank you. That'd be fantastic. Thank you. Or a yearly one would be nice.
Was that it? That's what we pulled it out for. Okay. I don't think there's anyone opposed to this, so it's been moved. Councillor Perkoff, seconded. Councillor Kristovich. We'll go to the vote on that. Thank you. And we'll now, that's unanimous, councillors. We'll go to 12.2F3. The complementary office has been pulled out by Councillor Ree. Councillor Perkoff is chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mayor. 12.2F3. I'm be happy to hear what's happening with this one. That's on page 98. And I move the committee recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Ferrante would like to second that, I'm sure. Councillor? Yep. Councillor Ree, are you opposed? Or would you like to ask a question?
I'll ask a question before I start.
But what I'm getting at is, are you going to lead into a debate where I will open debate so that the mover and seconder have an opportunity, or have you just got a question?
I think it says in here that the notes, the information contained in the report regarding the complementary offer. So that actually implies that we actually are agreeing to this. So we're agreeing to this complementary offer, but it doesn't actually say we're agreeing to it, because one of the things we had at the last council meeting, it was regarding something that was in the report but wasn't actually in the recommendation.
So this is just noting the information relating to the complementary. It's not saying they're being implemented. It is definitely not doing that. So nothing is, this is a state of no change right now. It is saying that there'll be a workshop in November, and to note the information regarding the complementary offers, which was provided by officers.
So this is actually still accepting that the complementary offer we're giving for this 25-26 financial year.
So it hasn't changed. There was no intent for council to change anything that's currently happening.
Well, just the way it was read, somebody asked me. That's fine. I think it really needs to go to a consideration and maybe out to the public consultation. So my point is whether or not we actually will ask the public for their opinion, because if not a huge percentage of people using it, we shouldn't be allowing that money. And if we're allowing 5...
So I think that was the intent of the workshop, for council to decide what they wanted to do, and then I guess it would be up to council if they decided that was an appropriate way to go.
So we don't need to put it here for public consultation after that workshop?
No, I wouldn't say so. I'd say you could deal with that
That's
at the
fine.
workshop. So there's no one opposed to this one. I will put it to the vote. Thank you. And that motion is carried with only myself voting against, in true consistency with my committee vote. 12.2 TE2 has been pulled out by Councillor Reid. This is a tender item. Is it just a question? Or will we need to just hold this to the end of the meeting as well?
Well, I'm actually really confused as to what's going on. I did mention it.
Okay, in that case, if you're really confused, it will rely on a lot of questions. So take a seat. We'll take 12.2 TE2 and we'll put that one to the end of the meeting as well. And we'll go to 12.2 GOV1, which is a proposed cat law. Councillor Thornton has pulled that one out. Councillor Perkoff as chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mayor Irwin. 12.2 GOV1, proposed cat law 2025. On page 148, I will move the committee recommendation.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for the committee recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Papard. Now, I will ask if anyone's opposed. I think the easiest way to do this is to say
It's just an amendment, Mr.
So,
Mayor.
no, I understand it's an amendment, but there's a process to get to your amendment. And the reason is this, and yeah, I think it's the easiest way to get to your amendment. And it's only because it is, whilst it's just an addition of another area, it was talked about a lot at committee and there was reasons from officers why it shouldn't. So I think it's easier for different lakes, different additions, etc. And I think it's easier for you to have your say so that you can actually propose it properly. So as mover of the motion, Councillor Perkoff.
Mayor Irwin, I'm happy to continue as is and hear the discussion on this one or debate on this one. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Papard. Now, you've got a clean slate, Councillor Thornton. You can talk away.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do not disagree with the overall intent of the officer's recommendation. What I believe is at hand is we're doing a disservice to our community, to our environment and to our local residents by not including Talia Lake in amongst this prohibited cat area. Not sure if people recognise the history of this lake. This lake is a conservation replacement wetland. It has high ecological value. It has turtle populations there. It also has wildlife, native bird habitat there. So this wetland should be included as a cat prohibited area. There is also a comparable wetland contained in the already cat prohibited wetlands or reserves.
So, can I just stop you? So I reckon, seeing as we're just talking about just that gardens at the moment and not the actual original recommendation, do you want to start by then just moving your amendment and we'll see if we've got a seconder for you?
My amendment is to include Talia Lake as it shares key ecological characteristics with Carina Wetlands Reserve, including being a constructed wetland of regional biodiversity
That's
value.
it. So let's get a seconder. So Councillor Olo is happy to second. Is there anyone opposed to Talia Gardens? Yeah, is it a simple question? Yep. There's no one opposed to it around the table. So your question?
Just to the officers. So as part of the consultation process, will people be able to suggest other locations that should be looked at as part of this process?
Mr. Mullins?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, certainly. Through public consultation, any resident or any person interested could nominate another location for us to consider, and we would respond to that through the subsequent report back to council.
And just one last question. With Talia Gardens and Stirling Gardens, obviously there's a lot of wildlife in those two locations and they're right next to each other. When I was reading the information in the report about why it wasn't included, it wasn't clear to me that that location was actually looked at or assessed. It just sort of seemed to be a more general observation of that. So I just want to get some clarification whether or not that particular area, even though it was identified to be looked at, what actually happened in that review.
Sure. Mr. Hunter?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. There's two aspects that Conservation Wildlife staff looked at those conservation areas potentially for cat prohibition. One was the conservation value of the particular reserve, And the other component that we looked at is the ability to trap in those reserves without interference by the public of those cat traps. So that's why they've recommended the reserves that they have.
Thank you. Okay. Councillor Giudice, you got a question?
Well, a question or perhaps an addition to Talia Lake and another reserve, if I could, if that was permitted.
No, so we're talking about an amendment to Talia Lake.
Not an amendment to Talia Lake, but if I could have the opportunity to add another reserve, that would be.
It's entirely up to you, but you don't do it now. So we're talking. So this isn't open unless someone's opposed to Talia Lake. Just some questions. So I'll allow you to, if you'd like to, just finish your. I'll allow you just to finish your reasoning for it, just so you've had clear air, and then we'll put that to the vote whether the amendment's accepted.
I respectfully disagree with the officer's assessment on Talia Lake, not being a suitable trapping area. It has half of its circumference that has a bushland area that is not accessible by the public. It does not have a path there, and it has high ecological value. There are turtles there, there are also birds, and also importantly, the local residents want it to be a cat prohibited area. I believe this is an oversight. It should have been picked up earlier, but it wasn't. There was no representation of the local people on the environmental advisory group as well. So this is something that we can correct now rather than later. It's important to do it now.
Thank you for that. So given that there's no opposition to it, Talia Lake is the first amendment. I believe we may have another one coming up after. So all we're voting for here is the Talia Lake amendment, to adding it in. That's all we're voting for. That is unanimous, councillors. You have Talia Lakes in there. Councillor Giudice.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In a similar way, I would like one additional reserve to be added. That reserve is the Mount Lawley Golf Course Reserve.
Sorry, which golf course?
Mount Lawley.
Mount Lawley.
Yes. And the reasons for that is in the cat law, local laws presently, we've got Inglewood Triangle, and we've also got, I think, named Terry Tyzack Reserve, which I would call Birdie Reserve, but in any case, that's what's nominated in the cat local law. And Mount Lawley Golf Course sits in between those two reserves. So I think there's a logical extension for the Mount Lawley Golf Club to be included. Equally, the club itself has been doing a lot of conservation activities, including housing just recently 24 Quenda.
All right, so I might also with you just get a seconder just to do it the right way. Yep. We've got our new manager of governance here. I'll say Councillor Lagan's happy to second that.
And so, yeah, it's quite important that, this reserve would be included, and the club members have expressed that desire and were attending at committee last week. So that's the reasons why I would like Mount Lawley Golf Club to be included for consultation as part of the cat law.
Thank you. And given the last one, I don't think there's anyone opposed. Anyone got any questions? I do have two, if I may just ask them. So the first one is, I did see Mount Lawley Golf Club representatives attend and sort of indicate that. Have they put forward any requests to the actual team or engaged with the team regarding it?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So I actually spoke to the two representatives after the meeting, and they have also engaged with our Parks and Environment team about their request for that location to be included as a cat prohibited area. Initial investigations, we believe that it's possible just due to the nature of the land. We can't do cat prohibited areas on private land, but that one we have some control over. It just should be noted that there would be a significant number of properties affected with that particular property due to its size and the 200 metre fauna protection buffer zones that would come into play, which we'd have to do the numbers on.
That was going to be my next question. So the increase, because I think it's 12,000 or so extra properties now on. Do we have any indication what this would add in terms of properties?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, not as yet. We haven't done the numbers on Mount Lawley Golf Course. the team that were here last week at committee planned to put something through public consultation for us to consider. So we were proposing to deal with it then, but we'd have to go away and do the numbers and work out what those numbers are. Just due to the density around Mount Lawley Golf Course and the 200 metre zone, it's probably going to be quite a few. We've got 12,000 new properties affected with the extra 30 capped areas we're including, and this one would be significant, along with the Talia Gardens as well too, Talia Reserve.
Thank you. Okay, so let's put that amendment to the vote. So we're just voting on whether you'll allow Councillor Giudice to put Mount Lawley Golf Club as a prohibited area on there. That motion is carried, with myself in doubt. That all becomes part of the substantive motion. It is still open for debate, as I allowed Councillor Thornton to oppose it. Does anyone want to add any commentary? Councillor Ree?
From the meeting regarding the committee meeting the other day, a lovely doctor asked a whole lot of email questions which we didn't get answered. Is it possible to still get those answers, even though this is going out for consultation? Is it possible to get the staff to answer those questions that were emailed through?
Yeah. Mr. Mullins?
Thank you very much.
Through you, Mayor. And so, yes, I responded directly to Mr. Madden. He requested that those answers directly to him. I'm happy to provide that to all councillors if they wish.
That would be very beneficial. Thank you.
Yep, that can be organised. Councillor Lagan?
Just a question through you to officers. On page 192 of the report, there's a small diagram, map 17, and it's referring to Terry Tyzack bushland. When was that named, Terry Tyzack bushland? If I do a Google search, it doesn't show that.
I don't think it has been. I actually asked that question on behalf of a councillor. Mr. Hunter?
Mr. Mayor, that was an oversight. It's a colloquial name internally given because it was adjacent to the Terry Tyzack Aquatic Centre, but that name won't be used in the future.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Councillor Hatton?
Oh, here we go.
Here's another one I've heard. Okay. Look, I fully support the cat prohibited areas that are on this agenda and the new ones too. I just wanted to ask about the Lake Gwelup area. By natural extension, on the east side of North Beach Road, there is a wetland area there, and it's probably a significant spot for bird life and other. I just wonder if I could get an officer response as to whether we should maybe include that.
Hang on, that little one.
Yeah.
Isn't that part of Coriniup?
No, I'm talking about Lake Gwelup on the east side of North Beach Road. It's Brushfield Way or Reserve. Brushfield. I probably need a bit of guidance on it.
Well, I'd say it's not on there for a reason. So the officer's comment would be, no, it probably shouldn't be, but...
It may have been forgotten, you never know.
I doubt it.
It's pretty swampy.
Councillors, I do want to caution, this was our big concern with this. It's, as I've said before at committee, it was held over from December. And then
Mr. Mayor,
got to tonight.
I fully know where you're going on that, and I do respect it, but it's a natural extension of the Lake Gwelup wetland.
And then if it's that close, it'll probably be incorporated in the buffer zone anyway. How's that for an answer? Mr. Mullins?
Yeah, you're probably right there.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and completely on the fly here, I believe that Brushfield Way, it would be Settlers Green Reserve that you may be referring to. As far as the methodology, the Parks and Environment team engaged with their consultant, it was really about those high priority locations and undertaking those activities. That particular reserve wasn't on that list, hence why it's not been included. But I guess the advice I can give you just on the fly is that that reserve is called Settlers Green Reserve.
Does that help, Councillor Hatton?
I think it sort of does. I'm not sure, but probably it's in the buffer zone then. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I'd like my backyard as part of the... Councillors, are there any other indication tonight? In that case, I will go... Councillor Perkoff, do you want to close debate?
This is getting huge, Mr. Mayor. You're right, some of these things should have been discussed in months and weeks prior. But so be it, we've gone hyperleap from 14 to 41 and now to 43, so not sure where it's going to end. Maybe in your backyard, I don't know. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. That closes debate. So the motion reads as committee recommendation with the addition of two more places, being Talia Lake and Mount Lawley Golf Club. I will now put that to the vote. Councillors. Thank you, and that is unanimous. Without getting off track, councillors, remind me to tell you the story about a friend of mine who moved to Canberra and changed the name on Google Maps to his surname. Very clever young lad, and eventually ended up advocating for it at a council meeting, and they started naming it. In the end, the community got behind it. The park is now named after him formally because it got taken up and was referred to in all the council meetings because it started with someone just listing it somewhere. And it's received millions of dollars worth of upgrades. Incredible story. Anyway, I digress. 12.2 GOV2 has been pulled out, provision of services by Councillor Ree. As mover of the motion, Councillor Perkoff.
I'd like to move that motion as by the committee on page 220, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Lagan. Is there anyone opposed? Councillor Ree. Councillor Perkoff.
Nothing to add at this time.
Thank you. Councillor Lagan.
Mr Mayor, I only had to thank staff for the amount of information they've given us with regard to the costing on this and the breakdown of costs. It's been very informative.
Thank you. Councillor Ree.
Yes, thank you for the additional information that wasn't in the report. Much appreciated. Could we have a comment about I would have thought in here, we would have made a comment about the extra cost it was for preferential voting at the last election as a contributing factor. Can we have a different costing? That wasn't in the report.
Mr Slentz. Are you aware of what Councillor Ree is asking?
Through you, Mr Mayor, to some degree, yes. I suppose in answer to your question, Councillor Ree, there was anecdotal evidence in terms of there was additional costs in terms of the optional preferential voting system. I think that was detailed in the information that was provided to you in your pack on Friday. The actual physical cost relating to in terms of, sorry, I'm just reading the additional information. The invoice from the WAC does not categorise in terms of the individual costs for optional preferential voting, but I think in terms of information and the analysis done by WALGA in its report late into 2024 indicated that there was additional count times and requirements for the returning officer to process the results of optional preferential voting.
Councillor Ree.
Thank you. When consideration of this, I would have thought that that figure and that anomaly would have been brought to people's attention. I have read a report that in some councils it was like 200% increase from the previous year because they had a lot of candidates and the preferences went on for days and days. So I think that's an important thing to be in the future reports, please. And I think it is fair to say that it's not only a cost because, and I'm just confirming, that the 773,000 that is the proposed account for the next election does not include any staff accounts at all. Staff, long nights, weeks, whatever. True?
That was answered at committee. Yes, that's correct. Yes, that was confirmed at committee.
I'm just confirming, that's all I was asked. With Count WA, what does actually that, is that a private organisation or is it something that the City of Stirling has engaged in or is it something we have to have with the WACC?
Through you, Mr Mayor, Count WA is the actual software that's actually used by the WAC in processing the vote count.
Councillor Ree.
So we actually don't have a say in that. That's their company. That's it, right? Okay. Another question is that with this election, in the last election we had, and Councillor Lagan can make a comment here if he chooses. I think it was just one ward was done totally electronically. The rest were all done by people. Is this time we're having everyone with people, or is Count WA mean that everything will be electronic? And bearing in mind the comments made at the time by staff was quite difficult because they had to look at it and then they had to put it in the computer and then it was hard to follow. So I just want to know, does this mean we don't have a choice that everything will be done electronically and not by our staff?
I would say councillors definitely don't get a choice in how they conduct the election, but I'll get Mr Salents to provide some advice.
Through you, Mr Mayor, in terms of the 2023 election, I'm not sure if there was any wards that were elected unopposed. I'm not too sure in terms of that. So my understanding is that the count would have been a manual process and then obviously the details inputted into the Count WA software.
Sorry for the confusion through you, Chair, that one table, they actually put them all in electronically. Everything else was done manually by the staff.
Councillor Reid, I'm going to bring you back onto task here, though.
I'm just saying, does it mean that? Because if we're going to sign off on something, I'm not going to sign off on something that's all electronic, number one.
You don't get a choice, Councillor Reid. It's in accordance with the local. This legislation goes well above your head and it goes well above mine, and I would suggest that this item is referring to an act called the Local Government Act, and who is responsible for the election. So we're endorsing that WAEC is in charge of this election, and that we write to show our acceptance of that process for this new election. Yes. So it doesn't matter what happened at the last one.
Well, I hope we learned from the last one, considering there was quite a few anomalies.
I thought it was a great election, Councillor.
Yes, well, I won't comment on that one. But there was a lot of people coming to a feedback session with a whole lot of anomalies, which I've asked to try to figure out what date that is.
Again, take that up with the WAC. I'm not aware of any anomalies or any large feedback that the city received.
It was done internally in the City of Stirling, in our foyer, with a whole lot of people who raised a whole lot of issues.
I don't recall that happening, and we can certainly provide some advice.
Councillor Lagan, could you please just
Councillor Reid, you're not addressing Councillor Lagan, you're addressing me.
I'm sorry that you don't recall.
It is
I know
irrelevant.
others recall. So I
was probably drinking beer by that time. Councillor Reid, let's not get into this. It is not related to this item. You are welcome to take that up offline with the CEO and the WAEC.
It is actually in the report that there's never been an issue. So I'm saying that there was an issue and a lot of people attended it. That's my point in the report.
You're welcome to vote against this if you don't agree with it, Councillor Reid.
Well,
I can't offer you much more.
I'm not going to vote for it, I can tell you that now. But I still think it should be itemised. I still think it should be preferential. I still think that the public needs to know just how much this is all costing. And I think it also really needs to come out and say that if the Australia Post has increased its fees by 45%, you know, we need to do something about that, and whether the Mayor or the CEO write to someone. I mean, we might be able to put it through in the budget, which I didn't find in the budget either, this huge increase, but for a small council, that's really terrible. So, you know, of all those reasons, both from here and my ratepayers, I can't support it. We do have a choice about whether or not we use the Electoral Commission or not. And
yes.
I vote we don't.
That's what this vote is for, and you're welcome to vote against. Boycott the election. Councillor Perkoff.
I can close. Thank you, Mr Mayor. Can I thank our new Manager of Governance, Mr Silence, for handling those questions really well. I may be able to solve a part of this mystery for Councillor Reid, Mr Mayor. No, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
I've got to hear this.
In 2017, there were two places to vote for in Hammersley Ward. I know it came between late Councillor Dr Andrew Guilfoyle and myself and Councillor Olo here. They put that through the machine. They put the recount through the machine. There was two places for Inglewood Ward as well. This time it's possible that's why they've done it.
That is correct.
Thank you so much. My learned colleagues.
Thank you very much, Councillor Perkoff.
You owe me one,
Councillor Reid. Councillor Reid, take a seat, please.
I was waiting to explain that. I move so.
Thank you. I will put that to the vote. That is carried with Councillor Reid voting against. Don't know what we do without you, Councillor Perkoff. Brilliant. Okay, noting now that 12.2 T2 has been pulled out and will be dealt with at the conclusion and closed doors. I will ask Councillor Perkoff as chair of the committee to move those remaining items.
I will gladly do so, Mr Mayor, and I do move the remainder of the balance reports as listed.
Councillor Proud has seconded you on that, and I will put that to the vote. I've just got that. That is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. And again, members of the gallery, those people viewing at home, please note the remainder of those community and resource recommendations have been adopted by exception resolution. 13 are reports for consideration in clause 4.24 of the meeting procedures. Local law, and we'll go to, I have nil, and we'll go to 14, which is notice of motion for consideration. The first one is yourself, Councillor Crowder. It's 14.1 on page 232.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, but I have an alternative just to that.
Thank you. And if you just want to read that out.
Is that the one up there? Yes. That a report be presented to the council meeting to be held on 1st July 2025, identifying the proposed timeframe for an asset condition assessment, community needs analysis, business case and concept plan for upgrades to Sterling Leisure Balga to enable consideration within the city's forward capital works program and long-term financial plans.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that motion? That's seconded Councillor Proud. Is there anyone opposed? If not, I'll put that one to the vote. That is unanimous. Thank you. 14.2, proposed notice of motion from Councillor Tony Kristovich.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. I've also got an alternative recommendation that can be put up on the board.
Have you got it in front of you to start reading it?
Yeah, I have. I can do that. What it says is that the report be presented to Council in March 2026, outlining a framework aligning with the Public Open Space Strategy 2021 and Urban Forest Plan 2024 and other relevant strategies for improving and developing all public open spaces, including pocket parks across the city. And two, Part B, all areas, excluding sporting and conservation reserves, be identified across the city for improvement within the next 5 years, with budget consideration as part of the annual budgetary process.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that one? Councillor Olo. Is there anyone opposed? Very good. You're being very generous with your time too. You're giving him a year. Ooh. And there's no one opposed, so I will put that to the vote. Thank you. That is unanimous. Thanks, councillors. 14.3, the proposed notice of motion from Councillor Proud. Future planning. It's on. You keep turning it back off. Press it, press it. That's it.
That a report be presented to the council meeting to be held 11th of November, it's Remembrance Day, 2025, identifying a proposed future planning for the Sterling Community Centre in Lude. This is the
Councillor Hatton
alternative.
has seconded that. Is there anyone opposed? If not, I will put that to the vote. Councillor Proud, you need to now vote. You're having problems with those buttons, aren't you? That is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. 14.4, proposed notice of motion, Councillor Ree. Councillor Proud,
yes,
sorry,
thank you.
Councillor Proud, can you just turn your mic off now?
The alternative recommendation, please.
The council notes the report.
Yep.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Kristovich has seconded. Is there anyone opposed? I'll put that one to the vote. That is unanimous. Thanks, councillors. Item 15, notice of motions for consideration at the next meeting. I believe Councillor Christovich and Judici probably have some, I believe. Yep. Let's start with Councillor Christovich.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. If I can just get that put up there. Is it?
It's up there.
Oh, that is beautiful. So it reads that a report be presented to a future council meeting identifying opportunities to broaden the legislative powers of community safety rangers and community patrol officers that may increase the city's ability to ensure a safer community in the city of Stirling.
Oh, well, I like that one too.
Would you like me to go into any detail on that, or
No, you're just putting it forward.
Okay.
That's it. Don't worry, I'd be seconding you straight away if we could second tonight. Councillor Judici,
thank
can
you,
I just
Mr.
get you
Mayor.
to turn your mic off to Councillor Christovich?
Yes, just another proposed notice of motion that the Mayor writes to the Minister for Transport and Member for Maylands seeking a review of options to improve safety at the signalised pedestrian crossing on Beaufort Street between 9th Avenue and 10th Avenue, Inglewood. Do you want me to go into any more detail?
No, that's all right. I'll put that forward. I reckon we should probably have someone put one up that I just sit in Parliament and just talk to them all. Probably save a lot of letter writing and time. Are there any other noms? Councillor Reid?
That a report be presented to the council meeting 1st of July 2025, identifying the proposed timeframe for upgrades to both the Double View and Inloo Bowling Club, and to enable consideration within the city's forward capital works program and long-term financial plan, please.
Thank you. How long? I'll just. I was just trying to find timing because there is, so just so councillors know, one, we won't have the information from the department on the timing of funding that's been committed already by the local member for those two clubs. But the bowls review will come to a workshop anyway, outlining all that to council. And you'll already have that in June, but yeah. Councillors, are there any other noms? No, in that case, item 16, questions by members, of which due notice has been given. I have no new business of an urgent nature at 17. Matters behind closed doors. We do have those two items now to go to. So I'll go behind closed doors. I'll ask Councillor Pard has moved that we go behind closed doors. Councillor Perkoff has seconded that we go behind closed doors. We'll just have a show of hands to close doors. Thank you. If we can kick everyone out. Sorry.